I still remember the warmth of the coffee cup in my hands. It was a Tuesday morning, just before 9. The kind of morning that usually promised new beginnings. My daughter-in-law, Emily, smiled as she handed me the cup. "I made it just the way you like it," she said. She knew I took my coffee black. No sugar. No cream. After nearly 12 years of being part of our family, she knew every little habit I had. I smiled back and thanked her. Looking back now, I sometimes wonder if that smile was genuine, or if she'd already decided what she hoped would happen next. That morning wasn't just another day. Our company's board was meeting to vote on a major restructuring plan. As founder and majority shareholder, my vote would decide everything. Months of disagreement had led to this moment, and more than one person stood to gain if I simply wasn't there. At the time, that thought never crossed my mind. Family doesn't prepare you to suspect family. If you're new here, let me know where you're watching from. And if you've ever trusted someone simply because they shared your last name, stay with me. This story changed the way I looked at love, loyalty, and the people sitting around my own dinner table. I picked up my purse and walked toward the front door. Emily followed a few steps behind, still carrying that calm expression she wore so well. Outside, my driver was already waiting by the black SUV. As I lifted the coffee toward my lips, someone rushed across the driveway. Before I could take a single sip, the mug exploded from my hands. Coffee splashed across my white jacket, the driveway, even the side of the SUV. "Mrs. Carter," our housekeeper cried, breathing hard. She wasn't apologizing. She was terrified. And in that single moment, I realized she hadn't knocked the coffee away by accident. She had done it on purpose. For a second, no one moved. The coffee dripped from the edge of the driveway, leaving dark stains on the concrete. My white jacket was ruined, but that barely registered. I was staring at Martha. She had worked in our home for almost 20 years. In all that time, I had never seen fear on her face. Not anger. Not panic. Fear. "I'm so sorry," Emily said as she hurried over, grabbing a handful of napkins from her purse. "Martha, what were you thinking?" Her voice sounded concerned. Her expression looked perfect. If I hadn't known her for over a decade, would have believed every word. Martha didn't answer. She kept her eyes on the coffee spreading across the driveway as though she'd been expecting something to happen. Then she quietly looked at me. "Please don't leave yet," she whispered. The words were so soft that Emily couldn't hear them. I frowned. "Why?" Before Martha could answer, Emily gently slipped her arm through mine. "We're already running behind," she said with a reassuring smile. "The board members are waiting. I'll have someone bring you another coffee on the way." Another coffee. Something about those words settled heavily in my mind. Maybe it was Martha's reaction. Maybe it was the strange silence that followed. Or maybe it was simply the instinct you develop after 70 years of living. The instinct that tells you when something doesn't fit. "I think I'll skip the coffee today," I said. Emily froze for the briefest moment. It lasted less than a second. Most people wouldn't have noticed. I did. Then she smiled again. "Of course," she replied. "Whatever makes you comfortable." We climbed into the SUV. As we pulled away from the house, I glanced back through the rear window. Martha was still standing in the driveway. She wasn't watching the car. She was staring at the puddle of spilled coffee. And for the first time that morning, I realized she hadn't been trying to stop me from going to the meeting. She had only been trying to stop me from drinking that coffee. The ride downtown usually gave me time to prepare for board meetings. That morning, I couldn't focus on a single page of the agenda resting in my lap. Instead, I kept replaying the same image in my mind. Martha's face. She hadn't looked like someone who had made a mistake. She had looked like someone trying to stop one. Emily sat beside me, scrolling through emails on her phone. Every now and then she smiled politely and pointed out another item on the day's schedule. The investors should only need about 20 minutes. The legal team already approved the revisions. The directors seem optimistic. Everything she said sounded perfectly reasonable. Almost rehearsed. I nodded when appropriate, but inside, something had shifted. At 70 years old, I'd learned that trust rarely disappears all at once. It leaves quietly. One unanswered question at a time. As we approached the headquarters, my phone vibrated. The screen showed Martha's name. That surprised me. She had never called me during business hours. I answered immediately. Martha? For a few seconds, all I heard was her breathing. Then she spoke. I'm sorry, Mrs. Carter. I didn't know what else to do. My heart tightened. What are you talking about? I couldn't let you drink it. Before I could ask another question, she lowered her voice. I saw Miss Emily in the kitchen early this morning. So? She thought everyone was asleep. I glanced sideways at Emily. She was still answering emails, completely unaware of the conversation. Martha. I saw her pour something into your coffee. The words landed with a quiet weight. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just impossible to ignore. I didn't respond. After nearly 50 years in business, I'd learned that people often reveal the truth before they realize anyone is listening. Martha, I finally said, keeping my voice steady, don't tell anyone we had this conversation. I won't. And don't touch that spilled coffee. There was a pause. You think it matters? I looked out the window as our building came into view. Right now, I said, it's the only thing that does. By the time we reached the executive floor, I had already made one decision. I wasn't going to accuse anyone. Not yet. In business, I've learned that the first person to speak usually has the least information. The one who listens walks away with the truth. Emily held the conference room door open for me. There she is, one of the directors said with a smile. We were beginning to think we'd have to start without you. I wouldn't miss this meeting, I replied. That much was true. Around the polished walnut table sat 12 people I'd worked beside for years. Some had watched my company grow from a small manufacturing shop into a nationwide supplier. Others had joined more recently, bringing fresh ideas and ambitious plans. Emily took her seat 2 chairs away from mine. She looked calm. Confident. She even poured herself a glass of water before organizing her notes. If I hadn't received Martha's phone call 10 minutes earlier, I would have seen nothing unusual. The meeting began. Quarterly reports. Expansion forecasts. A discussion about opening a new distribution center in Texas. Everything unfolded exactly as scheduled. Then Emily leaned slightly toward me. Would you like me to grab you another coffee? She asked quietly. No, thank you. She smiled. You've barely had anything this morning. I'm fine. For just a heartbeat, disappointment crossed her face. It disappeared so quickly that anyone else would have missed it. I didn't. The presentation continued, but my attention shifted elsewhere. I wasn't watching the financial charts anymore. I was watching people. Who looked at Emily before speaking? Who waited for her reaction? Who already seemed certain of today's outcome? Patterns begin to appear when you stop looking for answers and start observing behavior. During a short break, my personal attorney, Daniel Brooks, walked over with a folder. I need your signature before we resume, he said. As I reached for the pen, he paused. You all right? I've had stranger mornings. He smiled politely, but his eyes lingered on the coffee stain across my jacket. So I noticed. I closed the folder without signing. Daniel, I said quietly, before this meeting ends. I need you to help me verify something. His expression changed immediately. What kind of something? I looked across the room. Emily was laughing with 2 board members as if it were an ordinary Tuesday. I have a feeling, I said, someone expected me to make a decision today. without ever realizing I might live long enough to change it. Daniel didn't ask another question. He had represented both my family and my company for nearly 3 decades. He knew the difference between a passing suspicion and the quiet certainty in my voice. "I'll handle it," he said. Discreetly. I gave a slight nod and returned to my seat before anyone noticed we had been talking. The meeting resumed. One by one, department heads presented their reports. Revenue was steady. Our expansion plans were on track. By every measure, it should have been one of the easiest board meetings of the year. Yet the room felt different now. Not because of the numbers. Because I had started watching the spaces between them. Every time someone proposed accelerating the restructuring plan, their eyes drifted toward Emily. Not for approval. For reassurance. She rarely spoke first. She didn't have to. She had a way of letting other people believe an idea was theirs. It was one of the reasons I'd admired her when she first joined the company. Now I wondered how long that talent had been working against me. During another brief pause, Daniel quietly placed his phone beside my folder. A single text message appeared on the screen. "Security has secured the coffee cup fragments and the spill area. Nothing has been disturbed." I didn't react. I simply locked the screen and slid the phone back. Across the table, Emily noticed the movement. "Everything okay?" she asked with a warm smile. "Just routine business." "I'm glad." She held my gaze for a second longer than usual. Almost as if she were trying to measure whether I knew something. I offered the same calm expression I had worn through mergers, lawsuits, recessions, and the loss of my husband. People often mistake calm for ignorance. They forget it can also mean patience. As the meeting moved toward the final agenda item, the corporate secretary stood. The last resolution concerns the revised voting structure. A thick packet was placed in front of every director. Mine arrived last. Emily folded her hands neatly on the table. For the first time that morning, I noticed she wasn't looking at the documents. She was looking at me. Waiting. Not for my vote. For my signature. And somehow, deep down, I knew the papers in front of me mattered far more than anyone in that room realized. I didn't open the packet right away. Instead, I rested my hands on the table and looked around the room. People become surprisingly honest when they're waiting for your decision. Some directors stared at their papers. Others avoided eye contact altogether. Emily never looked down. She watched me with the quiet confidence of someone who believed every piece was already in place. The chairman cleared his throat. "Mrs. Carter, whenever you're ready." I opened the folder. The proposal itself wasn't unusual. It reorganized voting authority, delegated more executive power, and created a new succession framework in case the acting chair became unexpectedly unavailable. That phrase caught my attention. Unexpectedly unavailable. Most people would have skimmed past it. I couldn't. For nearly 40 years, every legal document that crossed my desk had taught me one lesson: the smallest sentence often carries the biggest consequences. I read it again. If the acting chair became unable to perform her duties, temporary authority would immediately transfer to the chief operating officer. Emily. Without another board vote. Without waiting for my son, who was still overseas negotiating a manufacturing contract. Without any review period. A perfectly legal clause. A perfectly timed clause. I slowly closed the folder. Across the table, Emily offered an encouraging smile. "What do you think?" she asked. "I think it's thorough." Relief flickered across her face. She believed I'd accepted it. In reality, I had only begun asking questions. During the lunch recess, Daniel met me outside the conference room. He carried a thin manila envelope. "I checked something you mentioned," he said quietly. "The amendment adding that succession clause wasn't drafted 6 months ago with the rest of the proposal." "When was it added?" "Late Friday evening. 3 days earlier." The same weekend Emily insisted on hosting a family dinner at our house. The same weekend Martha had mentioned seeing her alone in the kitchen before sunrise. Daniel lowered his voice even further. There's one more thing. The security office reviewed the lobby cameras. And they show Emily arriving at headquarters before 6 o'clock this morning. I frowned. The meeting wasn't until 9. He nodded. Exactly. I looked through the conference room glass. Emily was laughing comfortably with several board members, as though this day had unfolded exactly as she expected. For the first time, I stopped wondering whether the coffee and the paperwork were connected. I started wondering how long this plan had been unfolding, and how many people already knew about it. The afternoon session began with a vote on the expansion budget. It should have been my focus. Instead, I found myself studying every expression around the table. People reveal more than they intend when they believe the outcome is already decided. Emily looked relaxed. She chatted easily with the directors during the break, laughed at a joke I couldn't hear, then returned to her seat without a trace of tension. That wasn't confidence. It was expectation. As the discussion moved forward, my phone vibrated once beneath the table. A message from Daniel. The lab can fast-track testing if we deliver the coffee samples within the hour. I typed only 3 words. Do it quietly. No one noticed. Or at least, I thought no one had. When I looked up, Emily's eyes met mine for just a second. She smiled. The same warm, effortless smile she'd worn all morning. I hope we're not overwhelming you, she said lightly. It's been a long day. I've had longer. A few people around the table chuckled. The conversation moved on, but something about her question lingered with me. She wasn't asking if I was tired. She was checking whether I was still thinking clearly. That realization settled over me with surprising calm. I had spent decades negotiating contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Pressure never frightened me. Pretending not to notice the pressure, that was often where the real advantage began. Near the end of the meeting, the corporate secretary announced a short recess before the final vote. As people filtered into the hallway, Daniel approached again. They found something else. He handed me a printed security log. At 5:47 that morning, Emily had used her executive access card to enter the private board archive. She remained inside for 11 minutes. There had been no scheduled meetings. No maintenance requests. No reason for anyone to be there. What was in that room? I asked. The original signed board resolutions, Daniel replied. Including every version of today's voting package. I looked back through the glass wall. Emily was standing by the window, speaking quietly on her phone. She wasn't smiling anymore. She ended the call the moment she noticed me watching. Then, with complete composure, she slipped her phone into her purse and walked back toward the conference room. Whatever she had been planning. It hadn't started with a cup of coffee. That had only been the final step. When the final recess ended, everyone returned to the conference room with the quiet confidence that comes before an important vote. The atmosphere felt different now. Not tense. Certain. As if every conversation during lunch had already settled the outcome. I took my seat without saying a word. Emily glanced toward me, then folded her hands on the table. Are you ready? She asked. I've been ready for a long time. She smiled politely, but something about her eyes had changed. Earlier that morning, she had seemed completely relaxed. Now there was impatience hiding beneath the confidence. She wanted this meeting to end. The chairman called the room back to order. We'll vote on the governance amendments first. The secretary distributed the final signature pages. I picked mine up slowly. Instead of signing, I looked toward Daniel. He gave the smallest nod. A second later, my phone buzzed. Preliminary lab screening completed. Foreign chemical compound detected in coffee residue. Full analysis pending. I read the message twice. Then I locked my phone and placed it face down on the table. My heartbeat remained steady. I wasn't shocked anymore. I was disappointed. Not because someone might have tried to harm me. Because the possibility now felt real enough that professionals were treating it seriously. Across the table, Emily cleared her throat. Is everything all right? Just a message from my attorney. Oh. She tried to sound casual. But nothing urgent, I hope. I met her eyes. That depends on how today ends. For the first time all morning, she looked away first. The chairman interrupted the silence. Mrs. Carter, your signature is the only one we're waiting for. Every face in the room turned toward me. Some looked curious. Others looked impatient. Emily looked hopeful. I rested the pen on top of the document but didn't write. Instead, I closed the folder. I'm afraid I won't be signing anything today. The room fell completely silent. Before anyone could respond, Daniel stood from his chair. I've advised Mrs. Carter to postpone all governance votes pending a legal review of newly discovered information. Emily's expression didn't collapse. It tightened. Just enough for me to know she understood exactly what had happened. For the first time since this morning. The meeting was no longer following her plan. No one spoke for several seconds. The silence inside the boardroom felt heavier than any argument. Finally, one of the directors cleared his throat. Legal review? He asked. Is there a problem with the documents? There may be, Daniel answered calmly. Until we've completed our review, Mrs. Carter will not be signing any governance changes. I watched the reactions around the table. Confusion spread first. Then concern. Emily remained remarkably composed. She leaned back in her chair and folded her hands. I completely understand being cautious, she said. After all, these are important decisions. Her voice was steady. Almost reassuring. It was exactly the tone I would have used years ago if I wanted everyone else to stay calm. That realization stung more than I expected. I'd taught her how to lead. I'd never imagined those lessons might one day be used against me. The chairman announced that the meeting would be suspended until further notice. Directors gathered their papers and quietly left the room in small groups. Within minutes, only 4 of us remained. Daniel, Emily, me, and the corporate secretary organizing the files. Emily walked toward me carrying her notebook. I hope you don't think I've done something wrong, she said softly. I looked at her for a long moment. I don't know what to think yet. She gave a small, almost wounded smile. I've always wanted what's best for this family. The sentence sounded sincere. If I hadn't spent decades negotiating with people who had ambition behind kindness, I might have believed it. Just then, Daniel's phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen before looking at me. The laboratory completed the preliminary report. He didn't say anything else. He simply handed me the phone. The report was brief. An unidentified sedative compound was detected in the coffee residue. Additional testing recommended. No conclusions. No accusations. Just one undeniable fact. Something had been in that coffee that shouldn't have been there. I slowly looked up. Emily was watching my face, searching for a reaction. I gave her none. People expecting panic often become careless when they don't find it. As she reached for her purse to leave, a folded receipt slipped onto the conference room floor. She didn't notice. I bent down and picked it up. It was dated that very morning. One purchase. One item. A small amber bottle from a specialty chemical supplier located less than 3 miles from our office. For the first time all day, I wasn't asking whether someone had planned this. I was asking who else had helped them. I slipped the receipt into my folder before Emily turned around. She smiled politely. Everything okay? It will be. She nodded, said goodbye to the remaining directors, and walked out of the conference room as calmly as she had entered it that morning. Only after the elevator doors closed did I let out a slow breath. Daniel looked at me. "Do you think she dropped that on purpose?" I considered the question. No. Why not? Because people who believe they've already won stop checking what they leave behind. He gave a thoughtful nod. For years, Daniel had watched me make difficult decisions without raising my voice. He knew I wasn't interested in revenge. I wanted the truth. Nothing less. Back in my office, the afternoon sunlight stretched across the hardwood floor. Everything looked exactly the same. The family photographs. The framed newspaper articles. The picture of my late husband standing beside the very first warehouse we ever bought. It struck me how ordinary the room felt while my entire understanding of my family was quietly shifting. Daniel placed the laboratory report beside the receipt. "We still don't know who purchased this," he said. "But we can." He made 2 phone calls while I stood by the window overlooking downtown. Less than 30 minutes later, he returned carrying another sheet of paper. The supplier confirmed the sale. My heart remained steady. And the bottle wasn't purchased under Emily's name. For just a moment, I wondered if I'd been wrong about everything. Then Daniel continued. "It was purchased using a corporate account." He slid the invoice across the desk. The authorization signature wasn't Emily's. It belonged to someone I had trusted for nearly 25 years. Our chief financial officer. I read the name twice. Harold Benson. A man who had attended every Thanksgiving dinner at our house since my husband was alive. A man my grandchildren called Uncle Harold. I sat down slowly. This was no longer about one suspicious cup of coffee. Or one ambitious daughter-in-law. If Harold was involved, then this plan had required more than family betrayal. It had required someone inside my company. Someone who understood exactly how to move money, alter documents, and stay invisible. Daniel broke the silence. "What do you want to do?" I looked at the city outside my window before answering. "For now, I want them to keep believing I don't know a thing." That evening, I did something no one expected. I went home. Not to confront Emily. Not to search her room. Not to demand answers. I made dinner. By 6:30, the house looked exactly as it always had. The dining table was set. Soft music played in the background. The smell of roasted chicken filled the kitchen. Routine has a remarkable way of lowering people's guard. Emily walked in carrying a grocery bag. "You're cooking?" she asked with a surprised smile. "I haven't done that in a while. I missed it." She kissed my cheek as if nothing had changed. For a brief moment, I remembered the young woman who had married my son. She had been nervous, kind, and eager to belong. Somewhere over the years, ambition had quietly replaced gratitude. Or perhaps I had simply failed to notice. We sat across from each other at dinner. She talked about the postponed board meeting. "What a stressful day," she said. "I'm sure everything will be cleared up soon." "I'm sure it will." She smiled. "You've always taught us that the truth comes out eventually." I almost laughed. I still believe that. After dinner, she carried our plates to the kitchen. As she turned on the faucet, I noticed Harold's name flash across her phone screen. She glanced at it. Then quickly turned the phone face down. "You don't need to answer?" I asked. "It's just work. Work can wait. So can family." The answer came too quickly. Too smoothly. She had prepared responses for questions I hadn't even asked. Later that night, Daniel called. The financial team finished tracing the corporate account. And the purchase wasn't the only unusual transaction. He paused. There have been several transfers over the last 8 months. My grip tightened around the phone. To where? 3 consulting companies. I've never heard of them. You haven't, Daniel replied. Because they exist only on paper. He emailed the records while we spoke. The listed owners weren't Harold. They weren't Emily. Instead, each company was registered through different addresses and different managers. At first glance, they appeared unrelated. But one detail connected every single filing. The emergency contact. It was my son's name. He wasn't listed as an owner. He wasn't listed as a director. Just an emergency contact. I stared at the screen for a long time. My son was halfway around the world, negotiating contracts for the company we'd built together. I didn't know whether he had been deceived, or whether he had been standing in the middle of this plan all along. And somehow, that uncertainty hurt more than anything I'd discovered so far. 3 weeks later, the investigation was finished. The laboratory confirmed what we had already feared. The coffee contained a prescription sedative that had no business being in my cup. The amount wasn't enough for anyone to draw dramatic conclusions, but it was enough to explain why someone might have wanted me confused, exhausted, or unable to lead one of the most important meetings in our company's history. The financial investigation revealed even more. Harold admitted he had created the shell companies. He claimed the money was meant to protect the future of the business. Emily admitted she knew about the transfers, though she insisted she had never intended for the situation to go as far as it did. Whether every explanation was true no longer mattered. Trust had already been broken. The board voted unanimously to remove Harold from his position. Emily resigned before they could vote on hers. She packed her office quietly. When she stopped by my door one last time, neither of us raised our voices. I did love this family, she said. I believe you did, I answered. But somewhere along the way, you started loving control more. She lowered her eyes. For the first time in a very long while, she had nothing to say. A month later, my son returned home. We talked for hours. He showed me every email, every contract, every message from the months he had spent overseas. Piece by piece, we discovered how carefully information had been hidden from him. He hadn't been part of the plan. He had simply trusted the wrong people. Just as I had. That conversation didn't erase the pain. But it saved something far more valuable than the company. It saved the relationship between a mother and her son. As for Martha, she refused every reward I offered. I only did what anyone should do, she kept saying. She was wrong. Not everyone would have risked their livelihood to protect someone else. So instead, I asked her to stay. Not as an employee. As family. Sometimes people are connected to us by blood. Sometimes they're connected by choice. After 70 years, I've learned there's a difference. Every board meeting eventually ends. Every business finds new leadership. Money can be earned again. But trust. Trust is built one quiet act at a time. The morning Emily handed me that cup of coffee, I believed the most dangerous thing in the room was what I couldn't see. I was only half right. The greatest danger wasn't hidden inside the cup. It was believing that loyalty could never change simply because someone once called you family. And the person who saved my life wasn't the one with the closest title. It was the one with the strongest conscience.